So today is Thursday, March 25th. We're almost done with the end of March, which means for most of us, spring has started. And I'm very excited to have with us tonight a fellow Kiwanian, actually a Kiwanian who actually an individual who joined a new Kiwanis club that we built in the Grand Ledge area, Grand Ledge, Michigan, outside of Lansing. And we're excited to have him with us. Cole Frayer is a former semi-professional basketball player, former on-air radio host, and author of 3 self-published books. He currently lives in downtown Lansing, so just around the corner from us here in the Michigan area, where he spends his time further developing his media production company and lending his creative direction to fellow artists and entrepreneurs. So someone who has we'll have to ask the questions about the semi-professional basketball player and the on-air radio host, because I'm sure he might be able to give us some insights to that. So once again, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We will also open it up at the end of his presentation for questions and comments. And with that, I will turn it over to our fellow Kiwanian, Cole Frayer. Cole, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Sue. Let's see. First and foremost, I would like to thank Sue for sharing this space on this platform she's made. As a storyteller, I'm always quite fascinated by platforms that are created that allow people to do exactly that. So thank you, Sue. Secondly, I want to thank everybody else for being here tonight. I know we've all been stuck behind our computer screens a lot the past 12 months. So I appreciate you all taking the time out of your night to be here as well. I hesitated to accept the offer to come on Let's Talk because I'm not someone who enjoys talking about himself. Like most artists, I'm someone who would rather let my art do the talking for me. But what I've come to realize is that I'm nothing but an instrument of my passion, and I would be doing my passion a disservice by not sharing it with the world. And that's what I feel an artist's obligation is, to share their story in the hope that other artists will see themselves in their image and feel inspired to pioneer their own movement. My creative journey started in college when I was studying for my communications and community development degree. I was either doing one of three things. I was creating free logos and websites for anyone who would let me. I was listening to music, studying every note and every word like a scientist, trying to figure out the formula for how some of my favorite songs were created. Or I was writing down ideas on every piece of paper or takeout receipt that I could find. Somewhere deep down inside of me, I knew that I was here for something bigger, something more. It wasn't something that I could put into words. And I know that because every time I tried, people looked at me like I was living in a different world. And with respect to them, I somewhat was and still am to a degree. After months of creating alone in my studio apartment in downtown Lansing, I decided that it was no longer time for me to hold on to ideas if I wasn't going to act on them. So I sent a text message to a close friend of mine and asked if he would read some of what I had spent the past few months creating. A couple hours later, my phone vibrated and I dreadfully looked at it, expecting to find out that they hated what they had just read. But to my surprise, they had only one thing to say, and that was, "You need to put this out in the world." So I self-published my first book, a second book, and then a third book in 3 consecutive years. Now, as I said earlier, I've never wanted to be in the spotlight of any sort. I would much rather be the spotlight that shines light on everyone else than the one that stands in front of it. So while finally being able to use my voice felt great, it wasn't actually what I set out to do. So like any rational human being would, I went on Twitter and I sent a message to former Michigan State and NFL running back TJ Duckett and told him I had a plan, but I needed his help. A couple of hours later, he responded and agreed to meet with me, though I imagine he was slightly hesitant about what he had just agreed to. 3 months later, Todd and I partnered to host a series of events in downtown East Lansing, showcasing some of the local talent that we believe needed to be seen and heard, all of which sold out within a couple of days of us announcing they were taking place. Call it a premonition or call it fate, but as I looked out at the crowd that we had gathered that night, despite knowing that I was going to wake up with a negative balance in my bank account the next morning, knowing people were there because of what we had created, from that very moment, I knew what I had to do. I knew that my job, with whatever amount of time I have on this planet, was to create authentic pieces of art and build platforms that I could share with my community. It was there on that night that Bless the Bread was born. Bless the Bread is a multidisciplinary media production, publishing, and development imprint focused on driving the creative industry forward and further developing the communities that support the movers, makers, shakers, and creators of the world. We offer a variety of services to clients across the country, including writing services, web design, graphic design, audio production, and video production. We recently just signed our first e-gamer to the platform, and I'm currently in the process of building a podcast network, as well as a series of virtual concerts, conferences, community projects, and a video series that I hope will document business and community leaders right here in Michigan. In collaboration with Bless the Bread Creative House is a nonprofit community-based development program dedicated to providing children and young adults with a safe and uplifting environment to develop a healthy mind, body, and spirit, and the necessary tools to cultivate their creative gifts and incorporate them within their communities. The hope is to one day have a building where we can have a central location to host groups of children and young adults and pass on our knowledge as creatives to them at a much younger age than we were when we received it. Everything I do comes back to one simple question, and that is, what would my younger self think of this? I'm fortunate enough to be living the tomorrow that my younger self always dreamed of, because I not only gave myself permission to fail, but most importantly, I made a promise to him that I vowed to fulfill no matter the odds. I don't have any special advice or mottos that I live by that would propel someone to do what I've done. From the outside looking in, I'm sure all of this has looked a bit chaotic, to be honest, but to me, it's organized chaos. I tried it the way everyone said to do it, but I ultimately had to go my own route in the end. I embraced my flaws and chased a feeling that with unrelenting determination, because I was driven by something that was bigger than myself.
You could do that.
And with that, I would like to close it out with a video that sort of brings everything together.
Whatever is exclusive.
Cole, we can't hear your the music or the sound
you
behind
can't?
this. No, and
Oh,
I think,
really?
yeah, what it may be is when you pick to share your screen on the bottom left of Zoom, you have to say use this audio.
Oh, okay. Can't see that on mine, but
Yeah, if you go back to, so if you bounce out of this or exit out of sharing, and then when you go to share your screen, it says all the way at the bottom, it says share sound before you hit share.
oh, there it is. Gotcha. Thank you, Sue.
Sure.
That we never discuss, or we rarely discuss, is the value and importance of human connection. James Comer says that no significant learning can occur without a significant relationship. George Washington Carver says all learning is understanding relationships. How powerful would our world be if we had kids who were not afraid to take risks, who were not afraid to think, and who had a champion? Every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the best that they can possibly be. It is not impossible.
All right, cool. Thank you. That was amazing. That video was just amazing. I just think that, we're lucky to have you as a part of our family, as a part of our Kiwanis family with your dedication towards, helping children and moving children. There was notes in there about poverty. And that was just something that, we all know and work with here. So I'd like to open it up to questions and see what our group that's with us tonight wants to find out about you.
Cole, this is Greg. Give me some specific examples of what Creative House is doing regarding the children that you're working with.
Yeah, so I'm in the very early stages of it right now. What I hope is to sort of like the early stages of what the YMCA was built on when, I would like to have a central location where we could host groups of kids and maybe do workshops. I'm fortunate enough to know a lot of different teachers and instructors in a lot of different areas, yoga, meditation, different coaches that I've worked with in the NCAA and the NBA. And I would like to bring those people in just to sort of speak with them the same way they spoke with me and give them just the same knowledge that I was lucky enough to receive at a certain age. And I think if we catch some of these kids early enough, we can really unlock something at an early stage. I know if I was fortunate enough to, be supportive in my creative endeavors as a kid, I can only imagine at what I would have been able to do. I'm 30 now, but I can only imagine what I would have been able to do in that amount of time if I was supported the way I hope Creative House will be able to with the kids.
Is it kind of like a big brother, big sister operation to bring out the creative arts in children?
That's exactly what I would like it to be. Sort of like a big brother mentorship too. Like, let's say we have a kid in a school who is really invested in culinary arts. Maybe one of us knows like a local chef in the area. We could have him go, like, rather than after school program, maybe we send them over, in partnership with the school and their parents and have them go learn under the chef. Or maybe we have someone who wants to make movies and they're a kid and we have a local director. We could have them go partner up with them and do like a mentorship with them at a much earlier age than I did a mentorship when I was a freshman in college. So, I mean, if we can catch these kids in middle school or high school, I can only imagine what sort of ideas we can get out of them.
A question in the chat. Are you looking for the house to be a 501c3 or tax deductible? And what are you looking to be for funding and grants? What are you thinking for to purchase the home, etc.?
Yeah, so the idea is, to have it be a 501, nonprofit based. Right now I'm looking into different grants that I can apply for in Michigan. I can teach myself a lot of stuff, but I haven't been able to teach myself grant writing. So I'm in the process of trying to find people who can maybe help out with that process. This whole operation is me. So anything that I put into it is I'm happy to put in my own money if I have to, and if I can get funding from different businesses or different government grants, that would be an immense help as well.
So currently a local Lansing effort.
Mm-hmm.
At this point. Doug wants to know whether there's a broader scope. Where would you like to see it go?
I would love for it to be much bigger than a Michigan thing. It's funny, all of my creative friends live in different states. I have a team of people I work with in LA, a team of people I work with in New York and Florida and Georgia. So, and they're all in on this idea that I'm trying to create. So I absolutely would love for it to be a nationwide collective.
Gail would like to know, do you have a group of mentors on hand? How are you pursuing this? Because this is really from the ground up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is all, this is completely grassroots. I have a whole list of people who have already said that they want to help out in some way. I have a yoga instructor, I have a basketball coach, I have one of my mentors from the NCAA said he would assist in any way that he can. So yeah, I have a list of mentors that would be willing to participate once I can sort of get things at a much more foundational level.
Mhm. So if there is anybody that's with us tonight, or anybody that you might know that might be interested in offering some, some assistance to Cole, I'm sure that he would be happy to take that along the way, because the more the merrier, right? The more that we can
Absolutely.
do. Kathy asked about just so you know, the Grand Ledge Club is fairly new. We are working with the Service Leadership Club, the Key Club at the Grand Ledge High School. That club is actually sponsored by a different Kiwanis club, so we're moving it forward with that group as well. So at this point, with us getting the club being fairly new, we're still moving into all those directions of how do we get involved with the service leadership program. So I'm sure that Cole, that's on his list, right? Of things to be
Absolutely.
working on. Your Blessed Bread website gives a bit of info on limited products. Where can we get your books?
Yeah, that is under my personal website. I will put that in the chat right now. It is www.keepitrealcole.com. That's where you can find different albums that I've produced. You can find my book collection and some of my portfolio before I launched Bless the Bread.
Perfect. Barb has a question for you. Barb, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Partly it's for you, Sue. This is Cole, you're a member of Grand Ledge, is that correct?
Correct.
That's correct.
And so that's the one that you and I worked on together.
Right.
And the organizational meeting was at the library.
Correct.
Is she still in the club?
She is, yes.
So Cole, I think that there are resources in that Kiwanis club. I think the librarian that's in the Kiwanis club would have resources for grant writing. And yeah, I think there are people in the Kiwanis club who would love to help you and could help you. And I kept racking my brain if I had met you, but you have joined since then.
Correct.
Because I didn't. Right. I'm so glad you joined, because there could be mentors in that club, and we all have that same passion that you do for helping children, particularly children in poverty. So yeah, I think there are resources there to help you.
Perfect.
Awesome. Yeah, I will reach out. Thank you so much for that.
Cool. Tell us about your semi-professional basketball life. Since it's on the list, right? We're going to ask.
Yeah, it's on the list. Boy, that feels like a long time ago. So I went to Hazlitt High School, graduated in 2008. I had a few offers to play basketball at DePaul, Oakland, and Wichita State, but they weren't enough for me there wasn't enough financial support in the scholarships that they were offering. And that was pretty much the end of the list for me. I didn't have any other options. So a friend of mine reached out and said he was joining a league as a referee down in Chicago. And he said, come on down to the tryouts. So I had about 24 hours notice, jumped on a train, and I went down to Chicago for a weekend, tried out, and I was playing in the IBL, which is the International Basketball League. It is nothing special, nothing fancy. You're not going to read about it on the news or see it on Sports Center, but I was able to do that for about a year and a half. And for them, they did their seasons one after another. So I think 18 months is what I actually played, but I think technically I played 4 seasons with them. And then I just got burnt out, and there's only but so much you can do as a 5'9" point guard who can shoot. And I said, all right, this is the end of the road for me. And that was about a year and a half or 2 years in that league.
But an experience, right? The one that you took a risk, you went to Chicago.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I got the call and he told me about it, and it's one of those gut feelings. It feels good when you hear it, and it sounds like something you can do. And I thankfully I could find a ticket on Amtrak, and I got down there.
Perfect. So another question for you, is your vision for your program to primarily support one-on-one or possible virtually? Is any thought about doing virtual connections?
Yeah, absolutely. One-on-one, I would love to do groups. Virtually, obviously, with how the world has changed in the past year, virtual is going to have to be it's going to have to be something that everybody offers. So yeah, I would love to do one-on-ones. I think that's where, for someone like me, that's where I've been able to achieve the most, is with one-on-one coaching and mentorships. But I know in group settings you can reach a lot more kids. So I would love to do one-on-one groups and virtual. I want to reach as many people as possible. So however that allows.
So I think you have a very wide support group here this evening. And I'm sure that with your information in the website that you're probably going to get some calls. I'm going to throw the next question and say, what are there questions that you have for the business people, the people that are on this call as Kiwanians? You know, I'll give you an opportunity to ask us questions to get feedback, or is there something that, you know, you might be thinking about, but not really sure how to do it? Before that, I'll have Greg has a question for us.
Yeah, Cole, tell us a little bit more about the business side of Bless the Bread. You mentioned about working with media to help. What type of clients do you have, or who are you looking for to provide those services to?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, I work with a lot of different marketing agencies. I have just signed a client based out of LA. They're a marketing agency. They work with a lot of local businesses in the California area. I work with another marketing agency out in New York. They're more of a high-end clientele with different magazines and media companies out there. I work with another one in Kansas City. They're a really small organization. They work with a lot of small businesses out in the Kansas City area. And I work with another marketing agency based out of England. And they do local businesses in England, as well as some more higher end stuff. Like I do a lot of video production work for their clients, but I do a lot of writing most of the time. Also do a lot of video production work. I just finished up 2 websites last week. Last night I was up pretty late working on a graphic design project. I tell all my clients, you know, if there's any sort of creative thing that they can't do, that even if I don't know how to do it all the way, I normally can teach myself how to do it. So I offer a variety of creative services.
So the people you'd like to meet to become clients are marketing agencies who can sub out work to you. Is that how that works?
Yeah, I mean that's sort of just how it's gone. I'm always open to working with other organizations, other companies, other businesses. For whatever reason, I've just attracted marketing agencies the most. I didn't really set out to reach out to them or set out to get their business. That just sort of fell in my lap that way.
So maybe we in Kiwanis can, I know he's been working on the Grand Ledge webpage and working on several things for the Grand Ledge Club in regards to that, because we're like, here's a person who has the skill and the expertise. Let's, you know, how can we use some of his knowledge to do the stuff like the video that you did? You know, I mean, I'll talk for myself. I'm doing a thing here that I just basically figured out how to do on Zoom, right? There's no rhyme or reason. We just do it. But knowing that there are people out, and I've actually reached out to Cole a couple of times just to get some information and say, hey, how do we do things? Because there's no better way to learn than to jumping into it and figure out where it goes from there. Cole, there's lots of information. People comment that your photos are amazing.
Thank you.
People have provided some information on grant writing opportunities. So I'll make sure you get the chat tonight, because there's a lot of information in here that you'll find helpful. That's one thing with this group, from being from all over the country. People have, you know, different ideas and different things that they've learned, you know, along the way that we can help out with. So
Absolutely. No, that's awesome.
other questions? So I'm going to throw this question at you as everybody's thinking. As a new member in Kiwanis, what could we do better to attract members, to, encourage people to join us or to get involved with us? You're fairly new. I know that Nikki from our club, the Grand Ledge Club, connected with you on LinkedIn.
Yeah, yeah, she actually reached out shortly after I decided I was going to launch Bless the Bread. So it's just weird how life aligns like that sometimes. I think every club is in a bit of a everybody's in a tough situation right now with just the way the world is. We can't really have any events, and so you're sort of limited in the amount of things you can do, and we're all sort of at this point where we're sick of sitting in front of a computer screen all the time. So I think we sort of just have to be a little bit patient with just the way the world is at the moment, and when we can finally start to have the events like the Kiwanis events, I think everybody is going to, as much as some of us, back in the day would go out and to social gatherings and then get home and say, okay, I can't wait to never do that again. I think we're sort of at a point where we're like, man, I can't wait to just go out and be with people. I know I'm at a point where I'm watching live concerts on YouTube because I'm like, I can't wait for the day I can go back and watch a live show again. That's just my favorite thing. I would always walk downtown to the Green Door and just sit in the corner and watch who was ever playing live that night. And I think we're all just at a point where I think when things can open up again and we can have events and be with everybody and share each other's energy, I think I think we're gonna have a lot of beneficial things come out of that because we're all sort of cooped up at the moment.
What have you seen change since you were in high school in regards to, you talked about how someone you wish that you would have had someone to mentor you in this world. What has changed in this environment with social media and, the type of work that you're doing, putting videos together? I'm sure it's totally different.
Yeah, totally different. I mean, it just made the world smaller with social media and the internet. And I've met some of my closest friends from social media, and we work on different projects all the time with each other. Like last week, a friend that I've known since 2012, we met on Twitter, and last week I was helping him and his artist were recording an album, and I was sitting in. We had a virtual studio session, and they were recording in the background, and I was sitting and watching everything and sort of just lending my ideas to them via Zoom. So I think social media and the internet has just made the world smaller, and it's allowed someone like myself, who is a bit quiet and somewhat of a hermit, to reach out to other people in a way that feels a bit more comfortable, and it really allows just the world to, the world is your swimming pool at this point if you're a creative and you have the internet at your disposal.
That's great. Other questions? I'm going through our system here to see if there's anything. Other thoughts? I can hear somebody typing.
Sue, I would just like to tell Cole that I really admire his work, and certainly
You must have muted yourself.
He's actually frozen.
Oh, she's frozen.
Sue, I had a couple of questions.
Sure,
One
go for it,
is,
Brad. And when she comes
Cole-
back and unfreezes, we'll
Okay.
we'll let her catch up.
Cole, with all those different agency connections from London to LA and New York and everything, how do you balance those? Or do you have freelancers that if you get too many assignments all at once that are due, that you can sort of get a freelancer to sort of cover for you? Or is all this writing and all this work just purely yours and you somehow magically get it all done? And then that's the professional question. And my more personal question is, how did you first hear about Kiwanis? Who asked you to join or who got you engaged? And how do you think that we could do a better job of attracting other 30-year-olds that are so motivated like you are?
Absolutely. Thank you for that. So to answer the first question, I magically get it done. I have no, there's some days I have no idea how I get some of it done. I have one writer that I've referred some of my work to when I'm just completely overwhelmed. But I think what helps is I've always been somebody who I don't sleep a whole lot. I think maybe each night I get 5 hours if I'm lucky. Somewhere between 4 and 5.5 is where I sort of get my sleep in, and so I have the whole rest of the day where I'd sort of just plug away at it, and I don't know. I've just always had a work ethic that no matter what, I have to get it done. And the second part of your question, I've always seen Kiwanis around the area, whether it was, you know, people standing at the door and ringing the bell and collecting donations, or I've just seen the logo in the area, or I've seen somebody wearing a t-shirt of Kiwanis. So ever since I was a kid, I've always known about Kiwanis, but I haven't really known about Kiwanis. I've seen it, just didn't really know what it was all about. And then last year, Nikki reached out to me. I forget her last name, Sue. Maybe you can help me on that. I don't know Nikki's last name.
You know what? All of a sudden I just had a brain blank.
It's all good. Yeah. And then Nikki reached out to me on LinkedIn. And like I said with Sue, it's just one of those things where you're working on something, and then out of nowhere an opportunity comes and offers itself to you, and it aligns perfectly with what you're doing. And Nikki asked if I wanted to sit in on a Kiwanis meeting with the rest of the team, and I was instantly I went to a women's march in 2017, and this is the only thing I can sort of relate it to other than visiting New York for the first time. But when you're around a group of people who have the same goals and objectives and just overall feelings about the world and the different improvements that they would like to see, it ignites a certain feeling in you that you only get in those situations. And I knew instantly when I was in that room with that group of people that was something that I wanted to do, and something that I wanted to be a part of. And they welcomed me in, thankfully, and it's been great. I think the only thing I could think of, yeah, no, they're an amazing group of people, and top to bottom, I'm so lucky to be able to work with them. And I think in terms of outreach, I think, you know, just I hate offering advice to anybody, but I think, you know, I know there's a lot of people my age who would like to get involved with something like that, but they sort of see organizations like maybe Kiwanis or other organizations that they think it's a bit out of their age group. So I think maybe if Kiwanis wanted to, I don't know, find a way to say, no, we need the younger generation, that could be maybe something to get more outreach with.
Funny that you'd say that, because I wrote a blog probably 8 or 9 years ago before I came up to the headquarters, and it was called "We're Not Your Father's Oldsmobile," and it was all about how there's that perception out there. So maybe we need to just form a Kiwanis Cool organization or something, an auxiliary group or whatever that sort of busts through all that. But you know, since Sue's recording tonight, we've got you on tape, and I think it'd be a wonderful testimonial to have your picture and the words that you just put so poetically in terms of you're surrounded by like-minded people who have that vision and that drive. So bravo to you. I really applaud your efforts.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cole, Nikki's last name is Nyber or Halliwell. I knew
There it is. Yeah.
it's I'm like, and I can tell you that Cole and I have never met in person. All of we have literally, he joined us when we were Zooming, but we've stayed in touch, you know, and I think that, you know, the work that he's done and what he brings to the table in our meetings is just amazing. And, you know, as he said, you know, he's with like-minded people. We all want to do the things that he's doing. Gail wrote in the comments, Cole, you are remarkable. Thank you for your heart and your drive to create your nonprofit.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. Thank you, Gail.
And I'm guessing Gail was probably the person that, I think that was Gail that was trying to talk to us before she froze.
No, that was me, Sue.
Oh, it was, oh, Melanie,
Oh.
go for it. I'm sorry. I don't have all the voices together. So Melanie, go ahead.
Yeah, that's okay. We sound a little bit alike. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my connection, but I'll try this quicker here. Cole, I just was commending you for your work, not only the work that you do, because it's very, very good, very attractive and pulls a person in. But I think you also have an outstanding ability to come up with this effort that you're doing with your nonprofit. And I hope all goes well for you as you move forward. There's a lot to get through, but as a Kiwanian now, you have lots of resources and things to draw from. So don't feel afraid to use them, because that's what we're all about.
Thank you so much. That your words mean a lot. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We appreciate, yes, you are remarkable. We appreciate your sincerity, determination, goals, and work ethics. And I know that you were very apprehensive about doing this program when we first started talking. And I said, well, here's a group of people that you can be around. We are all here for you. You know, we'll help. I would bet anybody will help you with advice and things. You know, you could probably send some stuff out and say, hey, you know, can you read this for me? Because that's just the type of people that we all are, right? You've found that out in several of the things that you've done. And I think it's great for us as an organization to help foster and to help showcase this work that people are doing and see how we as an organization can help in the development of individuals. You know, we talk about being an organization of leadership and an organization of, you know, developing. I mean, we work with our service leadership programs with our key clubs and Circle K groups and our Builders Club and our K Kids and our Action Club. But, you know, there's just as much of an importance for us to be working with our own members to help them develop, you know, their skills and to help them, to give them the resources that they need. It's just great to be able to do that. And, you know, it gives us a good feeling as well. So Cole, thank you for accepting this challenge for us.
No, thank you for inviting me. I think what you have created, I think, is just incredible. Being able to hear people's stories, I think that's really important. Just in life in general, to hear people's stories, you can draw parallels to your own life, and it sort of allows you to just realize, oh, maybe it's not so bad after all, and just sort of realize that we're all in this together, and you're a major contributor to that. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Sue, I've got another question.
Go
This
for it,
one
Brad.
Maybe a little out there. You may want to cut me off or whatever, but I was just looking at your website the last 10 minutes or so and just amazed at the broad range of things that you're interested in and all. And particularly on your writings, you've got like, 50 some articles. I was interested in some of those on home gyms. So I assume that you've been sort of affected like I have through the pandemic of not being able to go to a regular gym and work out and everything. But I see quite a few with hemp and with cannabis and things like that. Do you think that we've got Kathleen Moylan on here, who's the guru of opening single focus clubs in the Kiwaniverse and everything? Do you think there would even be anything for like an e-club of people that might be interested in exploring how that could be a business opportunity or could help somebody that's dealing with cancer and other diagnoses where that might be helpful, or even in terms of just meditation and trying to become a little more zen after going through a pandemic like we have that's been so prolonged?
Absolutely.
You don't have to answer if you don't want to.
No. I'm an open book. I'm an open book. I preach meditation to as many people as I can. I don't preach it, but if somebody asks me, what is a quick way for me to just sort of decompress? And I think we've all just sort of been compressed with everything the past 12 months. And meditation for me has been a practice. I started practicing and studying Buddhism back in 2013. And so meditation has been a daily practice for me. It's how I start my day. It's how I end my day. sometimes I catch myself even just at red lights. I sort of just zone out and go into a state of meditation. So I think absolutely there's a space for that online, and definitely in terms of hemp and CBD. I recently was able to get my stepfather to sort of get some of his, he's had a lot of neck pain over the past few years, and I was able to get him turned on to CBD. He was hesitant just because of I guess just the name that it's gotten over the past few years for whatever reason. But I was able to, show him some reputable information. I was able to show him some of the articles I've written, and he gave it a shot, and he's a much happier person now that he has some of that pain alleviated. So I absolutely think there's a space for it, and I would absolutely tell somebody to pursue.
So, Cole, this is Kathleen. If you don't mind, I'd like to reach out to you, and one of my subcommittee members, Greg Wiedrich, is on the call as well. And maybe we could have a little bit of a chat, because we're always looking for unique situations and unique ideas to bring Kiwanis, or bring different members and types of members into Kiwanis. And I have a number of friends that have MS or glaucoma that are using the products, and maybe they might find some sort of kindred spirit with that, and we could actually almost, Brad, piggyback that onto some of the other the models that we've developed. So
Sure.
Thank you for bringing that up, Brad. And Cole, I'll reach out to Sue to get your contact information.
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
So Cole, Kiwanis Carol did send you a private message in chat, just so you know, so you'll have to check your chat.
Let's see if I can find it.
Because it won't show up in our system. But well, I want to thank Cole for being with us tonight. I think that it's great to have someone that is willing to be so open. Like I said, what a wonderful opportunity for us to learn about you, and for you to learn more about who we are, and just the questions that our group here has asked. We will again make sure that this is being recorded. We'll make sure we get it out on Facebook and on the Michigan District website to let everybody know that it's here. And I just think that the story that you have is a story that anybody could have. And for you to be willing to share that, and I think your books, I know I've been looking at, now that I know what the 3 titles are, looking at that, but I just think however we can support, Kiwanis was started as a business networking organization, right?
Really,
What a great,
Sue?
yes.
I just wanted to throw in, I'm sorry to be sort of hogging the spot, but he's just looking through all the things that he does. It has me a lot curious and sort of trying to connect the dots. And I see that he's, written some articles on how to improve your credit score before opening your business. And I think there are a lot of young entrepreneurs, not just mom and pop shops, but 1 or 2 guys and gals that are working out of an attic or their basement or in some of the co-working shared spaces in our communities and all. And they aren't really dialed into community. They're not part of a United Way campaign in their town or their city. They're really not engaged at all. And I think once we get that herd immunity, there are going to be a lot of people that are trying to figure out how they can plug in and be part of the solution. And why go out on your own when you've got a ready-made Kiwanis Club down the road? So I just wondered if Cole might have any ideas on how we could tap into connecting with those younger people, so to speak, that are probably in some shared space or even working out of their home, to maybe entice them to give Kiwanis a try.
Yeah, I mean, social media is one of the biggest tools I tell everybody, or every business, every entrepreneur, that they can use. You can do a free strategy. You can even spend, $5 a week and get your target audience. I hate to do the digital marketing spiel, but you can really, social media is a really powerful tool. And I know my generation, especially, and the generation behind me, are really honed in on that. And I think Kiwanis could really benefit from, using a social media strategy, or using just social media as a tool in general. You can do live events on Instagram, and they have it now where you can do 4 different speakers. So I think, maybe you do a weekly show, sort of like what Sue does with Let's Talk, and bring in different speakers every week to sort of connect with different age groups. I think, social media would be the biggest tool I would tell Kiwanis to take advantage of.
We might be able to do a panel discussion with 4 people on
Exactly.
that,
Right,
on different topics and all. That might be a way to draw people in.
right.
And we have had great success in the last few years with opening new clubs and even adding to existing clubs by doing some Facebook ads. And I was heartened to see that, at least during the pandemic, I think I read a survey recently that over 30% of young people are still looking at Facebook, even though we think that they've moved on to Snapchat and other TikTok and other fun things. They're still relying on Facebook for some of their news, or maybe it's just to indulge their parents and grandparents with photos. I'm not sure, but we'd love to pick your brain and help us sort of dial in on how to get the word out more. Because my mom had a saying that when you get wrapped up in yourself, you become a very small package. And I think out of this pandemic, once we get that herd immunity, there are going to be a lot of people, not just young people, but all ages, that are maybe looking for a vehicle to maybe be part of the solution. Every one of our Kiwanis countries, every country on the face of the earth has been touched by this pandemic, and every one of us, some much more than others. And so I think there is an opportunity for us to maybe seize the platform and offer people a pretty easy way to plug in and get engaged with their community. And I think you could be one of those people that could really help us make it happen and lead the charge.
Oh yeah, I would love to help in any possible way that I can. I think, just like you said, as terrible as the past 12, 13 months have been, I think there is also a lot of good that we will see come out of this, whether it is someone who came up with a new business idea or someone who got active in a new cause. I think there's, when we can sort of get back together and put our collective brains together with, we sort of all have been put in timeout for the past 12 years. And I think when we can sort of come back together and be like, okay, let's get back to action, I think there's going to be a lot of good that can really come out of despite how bad all of this has been.
And since we just crossed the year mark, I've been suggesting the groups that we ought to probably send a note congratulating people like you who joined during the pandemic. To me, the people that have joined Kiwanis since last March are a special breed. They are people that are really early adopters, early adapters. They see the need, and they're not just waiting to get their 2 shots or 1 shot in the arm or whatever and have the pandemic end. They're willing to step up and get engaged now. And so I think that people like you ought to be celebrated for that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you, for welcoming me into Kiwanis family. I appreciate it.
Well, Brad, that ended on a great note. You've got me. I think I know who my replacement will be, in the time that comes,
I'd be a sorry substitute for you.
Yeah. Well, just so you know, we're booked through October, so don't worry about it. We got that stuff taken care of. We're moving right along with that. So I want to let everybody know in Michigan, just so people know, everybody that's joined Kiwanis over the last couple of years actually gets a phone call from the executive director, Greg Smith, and actually receives a personalized note from Fran, our governor, along the way. And I know that there are a few other other clubs and other districts that are doing that as well. So we always say, if people are like, can I borrow that idea? I'm like, steal away, right? Whatever you can work is moving forward. So to give you a couple, just a reminder, next week is Paul Palazzolo with the 2009-2010 Kiwanis International President to talk about how to be a successful Kiwanis club. The week after, I've invited some Michigan Key Club members as they just finished up their service leadership conference last week to talk about how they've, as they would like to say, how they survived through the pandemic and what they have done. Their leadership was elected online in a virtual conference and was retired online, and what they have done. Graham Honecker will be with us to talk about a little bit of fundraising and how they've taken the Butler athletic program from where they've been. The week after is for those of us that have 500 or 600 or 700 emails in our inbox. Okay, just kidding. Randy Dean will talk about how to tame your email box and how to clean it out and what you should do. And I think that's a great. I'm watching all the thumbs up, everybody. Right? That's a great program. Tony Rubleski, who's an author and actually is a friend of Kiwanis in Michigan, will be with us. Our friends in Ann Arbor, Michigan, who have a thrift store that has provided millions of dollars in grants to the community, will talk with us. Baron Seeger, who many of us worked with on the Eliminate Project, who is now with the World Food Program USA, an organization that just won a Nobel Peace Prize, will be with us. The Colonial Flag group that we have a partnership with will be with us to talk about their program in the healing fields. We'll, of course, have our trustee candidates moving forward, working on a couple of speakers on trust. And of course, we'll continue to build our program. As a heads up, just to give you guys that are on the call tonight, on Friday, April 16th, you're getting the first words on it, and we don't even have everything finalized, but we're looking at doing a membership program with Kiwanis International that will help us get everybody set and do some work to prepare us for membership month in May. So more information on that. We're working on that. Larry Member and I are working with I like to call them the engagement team at Kiwanis International. But more information will come out of that after I meet with them next week. And if you have not had an opportunity, I will give a plug for this Kiwanis magazine, the how-to guide. What a great magazine. If you have not had a chance to go through and read this is that how-to guide that everybody got it. So everybody needs to go ahead and use it. So thank you again for, see, I almost dropped the camera there. Thank you again for being with us tonight. Everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy the weather. Be safe, and we'll see you next week. So thanks, everybody.
Stay safe. Thanks.